actors? Welcome to another edition of what I'm now calling Actor Conspiracy Theories. I'm Jordan Woods Robinson, and in this series, we are looking to. I open up a script that I've never seen before in my life, and in real time, I have an hour or less to prove the script in my own way without any outside help. I don't turn to any social media or search engines or casting breakdowns or anything else. Using the text, the clues that are on the page, looking to prove this to the point that we could get it up on our feet and have a truly original interpretation of this. Now, a couple things before we begin. I'd like to say thank you to everyone that joined in on the conversation. This is a new work in progress, and I've had lots of folks reaching out saying that they dug it, and I've had other folks who've come along and gone one step further and said, "Oh my gosh, what about this? What about this? I had this idea. It could be this," and that's what I love. We're kickstarting that script analysis brain and saying, "Yeah, let's go for it. Let's swing for the rafters. Find those conspiracy theories that we can prove that allow this to be true." Okay. A couple other things before we begin is thank you to everyone who is listening to the Hurry Up and Wait podcast. If you're looking to hear some conversations from folks all over in the industry, actors, directors, hair and makeup folks, producers, writers, editors, agents, managers, the list goes on and on. We're talking to industry professionals all over and having candid, casual conversations and lifting that curtain to be able to see the multiple facets of the industry and how people got to where they are in the industry. So thank you to our Hurry Up and Wait listeners. And of course, you can find that on any streaming podcast, your favorite podcast app. And lastly, I want to say thank you to all of my Masters of Self-Taping folks who are here right now. If anyone is looking for a community of joining wonderful actors who are biting off as much as they can and evolving and leveling up and focusing on their audition technique and their self-tape technique and community and mindfulness and weekly conversations, then come join us over at Masters of Self-Taping, because it's good. It's good for us. All right. I think that's it. So without further ado, let's open up this script. Here we go. Oh, before I get into anything, a reminder, I do not own the rights to this script. So this is, I am simply the actor interpreting this as we go. Okay, so right off the bat, we see, I love it when this happens sometimes. Sometimes you get a PDF and there is information that's been covered. Oh my gosh, there's information that's been covered up, but somehow it hasn't been locked in. Oh, I learned from this last week. Let me make this bigger so that we can really see everything better. There we go. And I'm going to get, before I even start reading, don't read ahead. Don't get ahead of me. Let me just make sure I got this going here. There we go. Okay. So, pink production draft. That means something. 204. That means something. Oh, this is lovely. Okay, and we get to pull some of this away that they thought they had redacted, but they haven't. Fantastic. Okay, and we even see this has been watermarked. I got ahead of myself for a second. I got a little bit freaked out that this was an actor's name that had been watermarked in the background, but I think this is still a safe script to share. That happens sometimes where I pull a script, I'm like, this is from a recent audition. I can't do this one, but this is still safe. Okay, so let's go. Story time. Let's call this story time. We've got our start mark here. Interior lawyer's office, night 4. Okay. Bryce. Yes, that Bryce. Already interesting. See, the writer gives us so many clues. Bryce, yet that Bryce, is in his office as he takes a call. On a headset. Who? Tell him I'm unavailable. Or not here. Tell him I'm not here. Bryce clicks the phone to switch back to his client. Hey, sorry about that. What we're going to need to do is an assistant runs in. I'm sorry, I couldn't stop. Marquez, somebody. Okay, cool. We'll figure that out. Appears Bryce reels into phone. Let me call you back. Bryce quickly hangs up the phone. Something's been redacted right here. We're not going to look at it yet. Bryce hangs up the phone. Bryce and Mark, I'm gonna call it Mark. Let's assume it's like a French pronunciation. Let's just say Mark, are there. Bryce has ended his call and the assistant is gone. Have a seat. No, you obviously want something. What is it? You slept with my wife. There are a lot of things I want right now. No one needs to get hurt. If that was it, I could have sent someone weeks ago and no one would know. You should be thanking me. I appreciate that. Do you know where she is? No. Mark stares him down, believes him. Did you serve the divorce papers? Yes. Interesting. How did she contact you? It wasn't her. It was through an intermediary. How do you know? Oh, do you know who? No. And I was told not to ask. If I find out you've lied to me, I get it. She loves you. She didn't want me. She was just angry. You don't know that. That's what she told me. So why the divorce? I don't know. I reached out to her before she left, but she wouldn't talk to me. So you don't know. Know what? It's yours. Bryce is shocked. He didn't know. Mark pauses in an odd moment of empathy, then leaves. Yeah, how the tables have turned. Interesting. Okay. The first thing I'm curious, as an actor, the first thing I'm curious about, we're getting rid of these. We're getting rid of all of these redactions. I want to say, end of Act 3. Okay, we'll talk about what that means here in a second. Excellent. There is another one right there. Or is there another? There is another one. Oh my gosh. This is so exciting. Is that one? Yep. Okay. No. Oh, okay. I wonder why PDFs allow for some stuff like this, where like sometimes it's imprinted into the PDF and sometimes, what's that? Oh yeah. Sometimes you can go through and you can, now I'm just scrolling my mouse over it to see if I find any more squares that I can erase. Is there other stuff written on here? Okay, I don't see anything else. Okay, now we're with Jebediah. Who the heck is Jebediah? We don't know. I wish you well, and I will pray for you, and for the greater good of this nation. Jebediah walks away, leaving Nia even more determined. Interesting. What the heck is GPP? I'm trying to figure that out. Some of your listeners probably know what GPP is, and you're like, it's this, and I'm like, I don't know what this is. I don't watch a lot of TV. That's my problem. Sorry, I'm drinking my tea. I should know more about radio show or about TV shows, about those radio dramas. GPP Act 4. Okay, so let's start real fast. Let's start here. So I have just by going through and reading it, first impression is that this is a procedural, meaning this is there's probably a better definition for a procedural, but the first idea of a procedural is that it's a bit more formulaic. It's any of those shows that you watch like House or The Resident or Law and Order or Lincoln Lawyer or like where it is the structure of the show is a little bit less long form arc and a little bit more each episode follows kind of the same formula, like Grey's Anatomy, where like you're always going to get introduced to the quote unquote, it's going to be the guest star, but like that victim of that episode. And then the doctors are going to help that victim, and then they're going to have all these struggles. And then about 3/4 of the way through, the victim gets healed or dies or whatever. And but there is a resolution with that. But then the doctors in the last quarter of the episode go through and learn something new about themselves, or that relates to something that a relationship that they have going on somewhere else. But it's like this very formulaic thing that you can pretty much the structure of each episode is almost identical. We're just filling in with new data along the way, and that is how we are learning more about the series regulars. Watching them overcome these obstacles, these individual obstacles, allows us as the audience to better understand the series regulars as we move forward. So that's what I think this is, and I found this on the web. Oh, great, thank you. Okay, that's what I think this is. I think this is a procedural. End of Act 3 simply means commercial break. That's it, right? So we now have a new clue. We've got this fade out that this is a cliffhanger. This is a mini cliffhanger right here, meaning that tension is allowed to build. We want to keep We want to keep that audience engaged through the commercial break and make them want to come back. So we have a new tool there. And then usually Act 4 starts right at where we left off, or it jumps over to a completely random scene and the audience goes, oh, but we didn't get resolution. So it makes them want to stick even more. Or it might even back up a little bit. You know, it might even, Act 4 might actually start with Bryce putting the phone down, right? And going, okay, have a seat, right? It's just a minor rewind to hanging up the phone and then continuing on with scene 4. Anyway, there are a number of things that are very interesting to me here. First of all, I mean, this is one of the main things I wrote down. I think one of the main tools I'm going to end up using here is status. Look at, so these are two, like, for lack of a better word, like alpha males battling it out territorially, talking about, you know, I was married to this woman. I'm no longer married to this woman. You are now in a relationship, I presume, with this woman. And it's these two alphas of a pack working to figure it out. And look what happens here. This is a big one for me. That's what she told me. That implies, so Mark was the confidant. Mark was the husband. Mark was the person who she trusted and who trusted her. They were married. They were a unit. And now in this moment, unabashed, I mean, he's not trying to be territorial, but we learn that Bryce has more information than Mark does. That's what she told me. She, whatever her name is, do we know her name? I don't think we do. You slept with my wife, I think it's the only thing we know. Let me call you back. Have a seat. What is it? You slept with my wife. There are lots of things. We don't know. We never hear her name. Nope. Okay, great. But we learn, and look what, there's a big shift right there, right? Mark is this one of the first questions that Mark asks? No, we got, do you know who? How did she contact you? Okay, so did you serve the divorce papers? Okay, so Mark has been asking lots of questions. But still, there's a tone shift here. And I don't think about, you know, acting-wise, I don't think about tone. This is me breaking down the script. Why the divorce? Interesting. Why did she divorce me? If you know more, if you're her current confidant, if you are her current sounding board, if you are the person that she's opening up to, I need to connect with you because I have so many questions. This divorce came out of nowhere. That's one thing that we're learning. Did you serve the divorce papers? Yes. How did she contact you? It wasn't hers. How do you know who? Poor Mark has been served divorce papers and he has no idea why. And he's trying to get some resolution for this. And so we saw him as the guy who was coming in, who was one step away from punching, who was one step away from screaming and yelling and smashing. And now we see that he's just being kept in the dark and he is fighting to figure this stuff out. But this audition isn't for Mark, it's for Bryce, because we saw that before I erased it. I still don't know what GPP is. This is episode 204. So that's season 2, episode 4. It's page 25, which means that it's, again, can still be an hour-long procedural, especially if page 25 is the end of Act 3, and then we start Act 4, which there are going to be 4 acts, sometimes 5, but usually 4, on 26. Yeah, that's going to take us up to like 30-something by the time we're done. Okay. Bryce is shocked. Mark pauses. Empathy, right? This is interesting, too. Mark came in as the instigator, and now he's leaving with a bit of brotherly empathy for Bryce. He feels empathy. That usually implies that he feels a little you feel, you know, there's sympathy, which is you feel poorly for someone, you feel something unfortunate happened. Empathy is connecting with someone. And so I guess that's one thing we can find here is that just like Mark, Bryce is in the dark. Bryce is shocked. He didn't know. And of course, it's yours. Until I prove otherwise, I'm going to assume that means a baby. Now, that's not proven. We could justify that a million different ways, but the logical brain says, no, this is about a baby, right? This is a procedural. It's a drama where we're getting further into the understanding of these characters. But what we're learning right now is that maybe this wife is she has so many secrets. She's so guarded. And in this moment, we learned that she is kind of the villain. Mark walks in thinking Bryce is the villain. Bryce assumes that Mark is going to call him the villain and kick his butt, which is a good assumption. But then at the end, what we're left with as the audience is that they're both, if this is what they're connecting on, how many other stories could they connect on that they aren't aware of? Okay. Interior King house. We don't know who King is. Do we know who King is? Bryce. Yes, that Bryce. That's fascinating. Takes a call. Lawyer's office. So Bryce is a lawyer. We know that because he served the papers as well. Like, we get it. We don't know who Mark is. He seems pretty powerful, though. Okay. Oh, King. On top of the bed. If it's not Marquez King or Mark King or whatever it is, then he's fallen asleep on top of someone else's bed. So it's probably his house. Bedroom. Morning. Mark has fallen asleep on top of the bed. The divorce papers are on the nightstand. Phone rings. Mark wakes up and looks at it. It says, Dad. Shit. His dad, I assume, right? I mean, it must be. Not must. It could be anything. It says Dad. But why is he... He fell asleep looking at the divorce paper. This was night. So he could have gone home, and it could be, the lawyer could be working through the night, which then continues to allude to that, like, Bryce is a hard worker. He's probably a good guy if he's staying into the night. I don't know if he's necessarily doing pro bono work. He might be preparing for a big case, but he is not a 9-to-5er. He is either higher up and a partner at the firm and has to work as many hours as he needs to, or he's a guy who cares deeply about what he's doing and will put whatever hours in he needs to do. But Marquez then came home, fell asleep on top of the bed, didn't even have a chance to cover the sheets or to put the sheets on or change his clothes. He's probably got like the slightly loosened tie and his sleeves rolled up, and he's still got his, slacks on and maybe even his shoes. Divorce papers on the nightstand. He fell asleep in that fit of, I said I can't do this anymore. Put the papers down, put his glasses on top, and then fell asleep with the lights on. Phone rings. He wakes up to it saying Dad. There's something that we can glean from there. I don't know what yet, but there's a reason why Dad just learned about it. What if, here's where one of the first conspiracy comes in is, how did Dad hear about this? I'm assuming that Dad is calling about the about the divorce papers. Dad is calling about the divorce papers and saying, son, I just heard you got a divorce. How did Dad hear it? Either I told him, but then why would I be saying shit when he calls? Unless it's just oh shit, here we go. I knew I had to have this conversation eventually. That's fine, but that's not really that much to lose. Mark is still getting what he needs, what he expected. It's just that now he's face to face with it. That's not as interesting. That's not as much of an obstacle. It's more of an obstacle if his dad found out without him telling. And in my eyes, there's only two ways that could happen. One, Mark's wife, soon-to-be ex-wife, told his dad because she's a little bit of a manipulator, because she is, because she has many secrets. Maybe she's playing a game and putting those dominoes in a row so that she can get as much out of this divorce as possible. Maybe. And if that's the case, does she have something on Mark? Did he do something to screw with her? And now she's using that as leverage. And she called and planted that seed in Mark's dad's mind. And now he's going, son, what did you do? And he goes, I know. It is my fault. That could be one thing. Another thing I just thought of is, what if Mark's dad, because we've got Mark saying, do you know who? It was through an intermediary. Do you know who? What if Mark's dad is a lawyer as well? Maybe even at the same firm as Bryce. And so part of this forcing himself into the lawyer's office, into Bryce's office, is in part because he wants to get this taken care of before Dad has a chance to hear about it. He wants to figure, and is Dad the person who is the intermediary? And if so, that's a very bad thing indeed. And I wonder, this is where, if I had a little more information, I want to do some research on like what what this starts to imply is that Mark's ex-wife is going to use his dad as her lawyer. Okay? So think about that. Mark's ex-wife is going to use Mark's dad as her lawyer. If he was the intermediary, if blah 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 blah. Is that a conflict of interest, morally and legally? Is that something that might happen? My first thought is no. My first thought is that's not very likely. But it's possible that she could have gone to his dad and said, yeah, it could be a combination of both. I'm realizing right now that she went to his dad in order to rat on him, but in the same breath said, I want you to be my lawyer to defend me in this divorce, and somehow convinced Mark's dad to be like, yeah, he screwed up. We're gonna bleed him dry. that's pretty messed up. But look at the obstacle. Even if that's not it, y'all, look how loaded this situation is for Mark. Look at everything that he has to lose within these 3 pages. His wife and his trust with his wife, which at this point is pretty much not a thing. His relationship with his dad, if they even have that great of a relationship to begin with, and his like physical possessions, that if that team has all of the clues that they need to destroy him, what a power dynamic between a wife and a father to be able to just like rip apart this poor soul in the court. And we haven't even really gotten into it yet, but there's a part of me that says, I don't want this to be the story. That's too dramatic. That's too much going on. And also, it would take like there's a term called Deus Ex Machina, which means machine of the gods. And it's this idea, whenever you're watching a play or a show or a movie or whatever, and the killer is right on this person. The killer is like, I'm going to win. And then randomly the bus hits them, or they get electrocuted because they step into a puddle, or that person who we thought was dead from earlier in the movie comes in and takes out the killer and saves the day. That is a Deus Ex Machina. It's when the odds are so stacked against you that it's impossible for you to win. You are about to lose. And then some other godlike force just goes, boop, there it is. I fixed it for you. It happens all the time. And that's the only thing that I could see here, is that if the audience is following Mark's story, and the worse that we make it for him, the worse that the least probability he has of succeeding, the only way of getting out of this is a Deus Ex Machina. The only way is to say, no, he's screwed. And then on the final day of the court scenes, someone's going to run in and whisper in somebody's ear and go, stop. And then the lawyer goes, Your Honor, I have new information that I'd like to bring in. And then the whole court murmurs and blah. Like that's the only way for it to happen. And so as an individual, I don't want it to be that way. I want to find this way that Mark has a fighting chance and he's fighting for it. Otherwise, he's apt to just give up. But that could still be the story. Okay, let's go up to the top again. I want to read through this now that I've got some ideas. We don't know who Jebediah is. We don't know who Jebediah and Nia are. I still don't know what GPP is. Pink production draft. When scripts are going, and I don't remember the colors. There is an order of colors so that you could look at the color and know, this is the 3rd revision, this is the 5th revision, and as you get new pages as it goes through. So by the time you're done, by the time the director is on set and has that finished, in quotation, script with them, it starts, some of the pages are white, some are pink, some are green, some are blue, some are yellow, some are purple, right? And that allows them to know, oh, right, this is the new revision, this is the blah, blah, blah. So pink would tell us something, but it doesn't necessarily offer us stuff now. All we know is that this is not the first draft. I wish you well. I will pray for you and the greater good of this nation. So there's another reason why I think it's a procedural, because that's when we get a little bit more into there is a political rift here. There is a cultural rift. There is a religious rift in this, and that storyline is going to permeate a longer space of the, a longer timeline of the show, rather than, this doesn't feel like it's just a little blip on the radar and this pops up once. This feels like it's going to be a larger thing. Okay, Bryce is a lawyer. Bryce, yes, that Bryce. Oh, first thing that pops to mind. We've already heard Bryce's name, but remember, this is Bryce's first time we see him. This is his audition. This is where he's coming in. So the audience, and this is a note to the director and the actors and everybody else, but yes, that Bryce, we've already heard Bryce's name spoken out loud, probably between Mark and his soon-to-be ex-wife. She probably let him know. He might have, we don't know how yet, but we have heard his name. It might have come earlier in this episode. It's possible. If it did, it happened at the very beginning, because we need that space for that tension to grow. Like, are we going to meet this Bryce guy? Who is this? So it might have happened at the very beginning, or it might have happened in the last episode or in the episodes before it, where his wife has talked about it, or he found a text on her phone that had his name in it, or there was a handwritten note that had Bryce and a phone number, something. But there's something that has been framed for the audience where they have seen this name. And so now, when is the first time we hear? When's the first time? Do we ever hear his name? No, we never hear his name. So you know how this is going to be told, how this story is going to be told, is that he's going to have a plaque on the front of his desk that's going to say Bryce Howard, or whatever his name is going to end up being, right? We're going to see that plaque. So as this call is being established, that we see him on a headset where he's just kind of living in his space, the camera is going to give the audience a chance to see that plaque on his desk that lets us know, oh, this is Bryce. Yes, that Bryce. Okay, so we've already got a clue that that's going to be a part of this. The audience knows who this guy is before Mark rushes in. Okay, he's on a headset. Anyone who uses a headset, take this with a grain of salt. But like, there's a very specific characteristic for a person who like is on a headset talking on a Bluetooth, especially if it's like a little, today, I'm filming this in 2023, in which headphones and like Apple, like you have Bluetooth headphones. It's not a big thing. 10 years ago, 15 years ago, depending on when this project was released, that was a sign of affluence. That was a sign of wealth. That was a sign of a little bit of like a, I don't know, just a kind of a jerky, like I take up a lot of space kind of. Think about how many projects you've seen of people like in a convertible and the guy's on his Bluetooth headset and he's talking way too loudly and he's like cutting in and out of traffic. We see that all the time, right? So already that starts to tell us a little bit about this guy, or at least the audience starts to see it. Yeah. Who? ... He hears the name and he goes, right? Like he knows immediately what this is all about. We immediately get that obstacle right then. And the way he works to do that, tell him I'm unavailable. No, do not tell him that, because then that tells this very tall, very strong, very, very pissed, and I'm going to have to rate this one PG-13, very pissed, soon-to-be ex-husband, that I'm at my office, which means, ooh, he could come by and find me at any point. So this is one of the first things that he does, because, he uses that power with his assistant to say, no, I'm not here. Tell him I'm not here. I'll call him back, right? Like, that's part of his power play. But then he realizes that's not going to work right here. Tell him I'm not here. That's a whole new thought. So I don't normally provide beats and stuff, but this is a very appropriate place to put a beat where this guy realizes mid-sentence that's not the right path. He needs to choose a different path. Bryce clicks the phone to switch back to his client. So he's no longer on the headset, whatever, and now he's back on his desk speakerphone or desk thing. He had to pick up the handheld, whatever. I doubt it clicks the phone, so I doubt it's a cell phone. So I think this is a slightly older project. I think this is early 2000s. I think the iPhone came out in 2007, and that was really one of the first smartphones. So, I mean, there was PDA, there was the Palm Pilot. So that could have been there in early 2000s. But either way, that still enforces this idea that this guy is affluent and has a ton of money, quite frankly. He's a lawyer. He's probably in a high penthouse suite. He's probably not in a small place. Okay. Now I'm interested. He comes back, the text of this at least, comes back to being a little bit more casual, almost like he solved that. And then he's like, hey, sorry about that. What we're gonna need to do is, on paper, I see that. However, I think we could easily infuse that with, this guy's thrown a bit. He's he just got confronted, even if not literally by Mark, but he just got confronted, and it's he knows now that other people know that he did something wrong. He knows. That's a very real slap back to reality. He just learned something really big, and that's his obstacle. Is he's going to have to watch his butt every time he leaves anywhere. If Mark called knowing where Bryce works, then he can find him anywhere. Okay. Hey, sorry about that. What we're going to need to do is, an assistant runs in. I'm sorry, I couldn't stop Bryce reels. Yeah. Okay. So we're already prepared for this. We had wait. Okay, I just got a new theory. I don't think Mark is talking to the assistant on the phone. That's what I was originally thinking. He called up and he said, hey, is Bryce there? I need to talk to him. Bryce is outside his office. I mean, Mark is outside his office right now. The assistant is calling and saying, hi, I have a Mr. Mark here. Who? Mark King. Tell him I'm unavailable. Oh, shit. Tell him I'm not here. Tell him I'm not here. And now, look at that. What we're going to need to do is ... He's not getting back to that casual conversation of saying, so what we need to do is we need to make sure that the other person puts this money on a... No, he's saying, okay, so what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to reschedule because I actually need to go take, I have an emergency lunch break I need to go take, or whatever. He is looking to get off the phone because this dude's got to hide. Mark is outside his door. This dude's going to have to, climb out on the ledge and climb over to his conference room and then sneak under to be able to get away from this guy who is about to kill him. There. What we're going to need to do is we're going to need to table this. We're going to need to put this away. We're going to need to come back to this. And then the assistant runs in, and in the middle of trying to escape, Bryce is caged. He is caught. He is an animal in a cage. And there's the... let me call you back. And that's our cliffhanger. There we go. It's not casual. We don't get that release in tension. That's a dumb arrow. We don't get that release in tension. Bryce doesn't go, okay, hey, sorry about that. Not a big deal. He goes, this is a huge deal, and I have to leave the state right now. so that when we get to this moment, he doesn't want to lose this client, but he's the prey being stared down by the hunter. And he goes, let me call you back. Cut. Fade to black, right? Like, that's what we're getting at. Bryce quickly hangs up the phone. Great. Okay, so we just learned a lot. We just learned that I like to think of, anyone who studied with me, I like to think of the beginning of these scenes as like if we find the right springboard, if we find the right slingshot, that tension, we're pulling that tension back. And when that tension gets released, it sends us into the scene. We don't have to work for it anymore. We get to follow that trajectory. And that's what's going on here. Okay. End of Act 3. Great. We're at a commercial break. Everyone in the audience is going, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? Okay, good. I think this momentum is going to continue flowing out now. I think we're solving a lot. Act 4, fade in. Interior lawyer's office, moments later, night. Bryce and Mark are there. Bryce has ended his call, and the assistant is gone. Okay, great. And that's, you know what? This is really a note to the producers, to the casting director, to be like, nope, assistant is only one line. Assistant is only needed for one scene. This is information for the director and the producers and the casting director to all say, okay, great. We don't have to pay this person as the assistant to be on set for multiple scenes. Because even if we saw that assistant shutting the door at the beginning of this scene, that is more time that you have to pay that assistant to hang around. So that's just a clue, and looking at it from the other sides of all of this. Bryce and Mark are there. Bryce has ended his call. The assistant is gone. Have a seat. He knows. Oh, yeah. Look, they added that. Yeah. Oh, you know why they added that there? Because they blocked off. So let me bring this back. It said continued, right? The casting director put that there. And remember how all of this was marked off before. They only have one start-stop. They have a start and they have an end. Meaning, even though when this was recorded on set, this is going to be two separate takes, two separate scenes on the call sheet. For the audition, the casting director wants the actors to find that transition all the way through. So they added this continued to provide one more clue to the actors of like, nope, just keep going. Okay. So let me call you back. Have a seat. No. Ooh. All right. Like, look at it. I talked about this alpha. No, stop calling me. Hold on. Let me hang this up. I can't access. You get to listen to this phone call for a second. Sorry, I can't hang it up right now. This is fun. Okay, there we go. Have a seat. No. So Bryce is already extending the olive branch. In an ideal situation, Mark would go, yeah, we got some stuff to talk about. Mark doesn't budge. He's standing there in his tall, muscular frame. He is riled up. Who knows how long he's known about this. Bryce tries to play it dumb. Yeah. Well, you rushed into my office. I'm a busy guy. What's going on, right? And it's funny. He knows this guy's name. The assistant says, hey, Mark King is here to talk to you. Who? Mark King. And he goes, oh, right? So he knows the name. It might just be, I haven't quite proven to myself that his dad does work at the law firm. It might not be. But he does know him, and he knows him. Does Bryce know him from outside of this situation? Is there a world in which this guy rushes in and Bryce can get away with playing dumb and saying, okay, I have no idea who you are, but you rushed into my office. You want something. How? What? Why? Why do you think you can come into my world like this? Like, imagine if someone came into your room right now and insisted on being there and you said, okay, as long as you're not physically at risk, being like, what? Why are you here? Could Bryce get away with playing that? I think he could. Is there also room, though, for Bryce to have some familiarity with this guy and be like, dude, you interrupted my day. What do you want? What is it? I think it could be as well. So let's keep trying to solve that of how, if Bryce and Mark are best friends and Mark comes rushing in and hinders his call, that's going to change this moment from if he barely knows him. Okay. Or doesn't know him, or can play that he doesn't know him at all. You slept with my wife. There are a lot of things I want right now. What are those? Yeah, there we go. No one needs to get hurt. There are a lot of things I want right now. I want to smash your head into the corner of this desk and throw you out the window. I want to, choke the last breath out of you. I want answers. No one needs to get hurt. That charade is gone. You obviously want something, regardless of if Bryce and Mark, how familiar they are with each other, that charade is gone almost immediately. Bryce can't play that off anymore. Mark says, cut the crap. I'm here to kick your butt. And Bryce goes, okay, I know. The one thing that, if I were preparing Bryce, the one thing that I would take solace in is my environment. These walls aren't super thick. Your assistant knows that this is a heated moment. Do I have the opportunity to sneakily press the assistant call button so that she can hear the conversation going on? Do I have an opportunity for her to hear these heightened voices from outside the door and to call the police for me? I don't know. But that's something that would be going through my mind of, the caged animal is aware of all of the exits. And then they are locked into this predator of being able to read their muscle movement and focusing on economy of movement so that they're ready to spring when you zig, I'm going to zag and I'm going to go that way, right? But in order for me to be able to zag effectively, I need to know where the exits are. I need to know what my options are in order to survive. So I think Bryce is probably going through some of that, and that would affect some of this text. That would affect his environment a little bit. No one needs to get hurt. Oh my gosh, look at this. If that was it, I could have sent someone weeks ago and no one would know. You should be thanking me. Oh no. I'm almost at the hour and what? Okay, if that was it, if I was here to beat you up, I could have sent someone weeks ago. Oh my gosh, that changes things. Bryce is the king house, right? I could see this being he could be a mafia guy. Ooh, Dad is the boss of the mafia. Mark is in training to be the boss of the mafia. But just the fact that Mark's image is tarnished from getting a divorce right now already starts to affect his power within the mafia and how people respect him. And his dad's calling up and being like, hey, you want to take this seriously? If you want to be in my position, I'm not making him Italian for some reason, but if you want to be in my position, shape up, because for generations, there hasn't been a leader of this family who hasn't had a strong woman behind him, next to him, whatever, however, I'm being dad here. So now his future of being the head of the family is at risk because this is getting out. Could be. Okay. Lied to me. Wait, where is it? Oh, sugar. Okay, if that was it, I could have sent someone weeks ago. No one would know. You'd be dead. You'd be in a body bag. You'd be in the Potomac. No one would know. No one would ever find you. You should be thanking me for not killing you weeks ago. Okay, and how do you respond to that? You go, yes. Yes is the, okay. Then how else? If that's not it, if that's not what you're here for, if you're not going to kill me right now, what are you here for? I appreciate that. Do you know where she is? Oh. Okay, that's interesting. I had this question before of when does Mark ask his first question? This is it right here. And this is the first moment where Mark is not the This is the first moment where Mark is not that enforcer. He's not the meat. He's not the bronze. He shows his empathy a little bit more. He cares about her and where she is. Do you know where she is? And that takes Bryce back a little bit. And he goes, that's not what he expected. But it diffuses some of that tension between them. In that moment, this is no longer the boxer in the punching bag waiting to be punched. This is I don't know. There's a little more, that status has evened out a little bit. This guy saying, relax, if I wanted to kill you, I would have done it a while ago. I need to know where she is. I'm concerned about her. Do you know where she is? No. Mark stares him down, believes him. Did you serve the divorce papers? Yes. How did she contact you? So Mark is trying to find much more information about this. How did she contact you? It wasn't her. It was through an intermediary, which, again, legally, I'd want to look that up. Is that intermediary protected by law? Oh, yeah. Do you know who? No. And I was told not to ask. So it's not protected, but also Bryce doesn't have that information. And I think at this point we can believe Bryce. He has no reason not to tell the truth right now. There is no reason for Bryce to continue lying, because this guy could kill him. His job right now is to give the information to the best of his knowledge. It wasn't her. It was through an intermediary. Do you know who? No. And I was told not to ask. There is a larger power here that Bryce is just a pawn of. And Mark is learning that in real time. Yeah. And if I find out you've lied to me, right? Even more reason. And they both acknowledge it right now. Mark is saying, I believe you. That's what he's saying. He's saying, I believe you. He has no reason not to believe Bryce at this time. Bryce is being dead honest. But then Mark says, you're a lawyer. You're a good liar. If I find out you lied to me, and Bryce jumps on that, you don't have to finish that thought, right? Mark would continue. What would Mark continue saying? If I find out you lied to me, there is a stone with your name on it waiting, right? Like, you'll be in the Potomac. And he goes, no, I get it. I swear, hand on the Bible, right? Like, I get it. Look, and now we're back to guy on guy action. She loves you. She didn't want me. She was just angry. She was looking to, she was out of control. She needed control. That's what it was. She wanted control. She wasn't getting validated. It was a rebound. She was just angry. She wanted to hurt you, but that was it. She doesn't love me. I just happened to be in the right place at the right time. And then Mark gets a little defensive. He says, you don't know that. And this still holds up as being like, this is the biggest shift of all of this. We got some shifts, but that tension is still holding there. And then Bryce says, that's what she told me. And there, we hear conversations about, like, if someone is in a marriage and has a relationship with another person, maybe just once, maybe twice, whatever. And I don't know. I've never been in that situation, but I've heard that, like, if it was purely physical, that's one thing. But if it was emotional, that's a whole other beast. And she emotionally, this wasn't just, they talked. It wasn't purely physical. It was, they had conversations. She opened up to him vulnerably. And that is where Mark learns right then that this is over. I think. That's what she told me. Big old massive beat right here. So if she, but now it's not coming out of, I don't think he's the enforcer anymore. She was just angry. And he goes, this is, might as well be the moment where this might as well be the moment where he sits down now. And he's almost talking to himself, and he goes, so then why? Why the divorce? Why? If she was just angry, why didn't she come to me? If she was just angry, why didn't we have a chance to work this out? Came out of nowhere. I don't know. I reached out to her before she left. So she left him. Assuming she left him. It's been weeks. She didn't leave a forwarding address. Mark has tried all of his connections to find her and can't find her. She had her lawyer send... What if she came to the law firm saying, I want to divorce my husband, please drop the papers. And it was from that working with Bryce that led to this side relationship. But then she still left town and said, that was a mistake. I was just angry, but I'm leaving because I still want this divorce to happen, and I don't want him to be able to find me or his family to be able to find me. I reached out to her before she left, but she wouldn't talk to me. She ghosted me. She didn't return my calls, right? Like, that was it. So you don't know. Know what? It's yours, baby. So she is, although, no one would know that they were pregnant 2 weeks in. So this is a longer timeline. This is speaking somewhat generally, the earliest a person can know that they're pregnant is 4 weeks. Usually 4.5 or longer. And so, gosh, she got pregnant. Did they separate? She and Mark might have separated a month ago and was just taking some space. Ooh, there's a couple things that I'd want to go down here of like, did she tell Mark that she was pregnant? Or did Mark, and we don't know, Mark might have found that information. Remember, Mark has ties. Mark is a strongly connected person. Mark's team might have contacted her sister, might have contacted her family, who, of course, are all shielding her, lying through their teeth about knowing where she is, I'm sure. But they might have said, look, she just needs space away while she's pregnant. Give her some space. She can't be stressed out right now. And Mark goes, what? She's pregnant? Right? That could be, it's something that he might have learned while on the hunt for her. And it could be something that Bryce doesn't know at all. And he's learning it right now. He didn't know. It doesn't say in here if we knew that she was pregnant but didn't know it was his, or if she's saying he didn't know that she was even pregnant in the first place. And now it's his. Mark pauses in an odd moment. Yeah, he's used to being the enforcer. He's used to being the guy who gets what he needs. But in this moment, he realizes that both of these guys got screwed over. He believes Bryce that he's not the bad guy. He was just a byproduct of this messy divorce. Either way, yeah, so if we're looking at Bryce, I'm pretty sure we have proven that one thing this doesn't answer now is who. Because if he's been living for a month waiting for this moment to happen, that who, he would have been expecting that. He's been waiting for that moment for his assistant to call up and be like, Mr. King is here. And he goes, oh, no. Okay. So does it? Just thinking here. I don't know. You know how I would play it is that who is not a genuine who. It's a stalling. It's a moment to, it's a throwaway. Not a throwaway in terms of like throwing away the text, but when as human beings, when we need time to think about something, we have those we have those phrases that we throw out. We have those things that allow the conversation to continue, but ultimately gives us more time to think. It's the same as taking a sip of water when you're mid-conversation so that you have a moment to process, to figure out how to go forward. So he hears that name. Who? Tell him I'm not available. No, tell him I'm not here. No, right? And he's instantly thrown. It's more of an interruption that way if he has been expecting this. But now you never expect for that moment to happen right now. You're constantly thinking behind you. But like this is one he let his guard down just a little bit. And in this moment, it is catching up to him. He's been waiting for 4 weeks. He was starting to convince himself that maybe he was going to not have to face this. But that it is here. It is here. And that gives us that winding up of that tension that takes us all the way into Act 3, continues through here. Look, you obviously want something. You're obviously here. And now that we know that he's a mob boss, this is just get it over with. I'm ready. Yeah. I mean, if I'm going to die anywhere, I might as well die in my office where I've spent the last 20 years of my life, like helping people. I deserve this, right? He's not trying to pass it off as familiar anymore. He's get it over with. Okay. In my mind, that's where I would take it. No one needs to get hurt. If that was it, I could have sent someone weeks ago. No one would know. You should be thanking me. This is one of the first moments where his reality shifts. Do you know where she is? No. I'm not lying to you. I swear. I get it. She loves you. She just wants me. She was just. Okay. I didn't. No, that's what she told me. He reached out to her, talked to her. She wouldn't talk to me. So you don't know. No, what? It's yours. Yeah. So there. That for me, that's enough to get up on my feet now. Right? And a lot of this I would have found on my feet playing with it. I don't sit here for an hour and read through the script and make all these markings. This is for us to do this together. But I'm pretty sure I've just proven mob boss, and this might not be right, but who cares? As the actor, we don't have the whole script. I have 3 pages of a script. We have to go through and we have to fill in those dots that make it the most dangerous for us right now. And for me, it's been a month or more, 5 weeks that this guy has been living, looking over his shoulder, waiting for the final shoe to drop. And in this moment, it finally happens. And he doesn't have time to grab his go bag and get in his BMW and drive away. The moment that he's about to do that, his door slams open and he's face to face with the guy. He didn't get a chance to escape. And then we see that trajectory unfold as he follows through this in real time. And then he gets slapped with another dose of reality at the end, that there was a whole piece of the puzzle that he wasn't even aware of, that she's pregnant and it's his kid, which means that this conversation isn't going to end after this. He doesn't get to walk away. This is going to haunt him. This is going to be a part of his life forever. Talk about stakes, right? Talk about danger. Talk about an interruption to your day. There we go. Okay, so I got to go. We are right at an hour. Thanks for watching another episode of this. This was a pleasure to go through. And it's a procedural, so it keeps clipping along. And I enjoyed this. Okay, everyone have a great day. Subscribe on YouTube. Just click the button. And we'll be putting more out. And come join us on Masters of Self-Taping and keep listening to Hurry Up and Wait podcast. Thank you so much. Everyone have a good day. Bye.